This is a very important part of your spiritual journey, is to understand that you have had other lifetimes, that you have existed. When this I first became aware of this, as I mentioned, it started in 1969 when I had my first past life experience. And I want to just share a little bit about how that happened for me. I was meditating in my kitchen, and what happened was I was sitting in my chair and I was just kind of relaxing, and the children had gone off to school and it was my time, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden it was like a dream state that took over me. I saw like you know, when you're dreaming, you feel like you're a part of the dream, and I saw this little girl standing in front of a gated iron gate, and she was hanging on to it, and she was little. She was about 6 or 7 years old, and she was dressed really strangely in a really weird little dress, and she looked very old-fashioned, and she was crying, and I saw that, and it was a strange feeling that took over me. I was consciously observing a dream. Now, that had never happened to me before, that I was consciously observing a dream and knowing that I was awake. And I'm sharing this with you because this is sometimes how our revelations come in our awake dream state. And I want to stress this, awake dream state, because since then I've had many experiences like this, and I've heard of many of you that have had experiences like this. So if you've never had experience, be open to having that type of a revelation of something. Well, now after said that, this little girl is standing at the gate, she's crying, and I'm watching her, and I'm starting to feel bad. I'm starting to feel, oh, I wish I could help that little girl. I don't know what to do for her. And I'm saying this in my mind, and I'm watching her cry, and all of a sudden, I realized that this little girl was me. Now, that was a shock. I kind of jumped out of my chair, and I thought, what's going on here? I felt her. I knew her. Well, then your logical mind gets involved here, and you start evaluating it and saying, okay, then what's going on here then is the fact that I just felt sympathy for her. And in feeling sympathy for her, I made her mine, you see? And I kind of set it aside, and I justified it. And so as I went along the day, I went to visit a friend, and in that experience of visiting my friend, I told her about this experience that I had, and we started talking about it. And out comes this emotion in me about this little girl, how she felt and what her name was, and I was in France, and all this stuff started coming out of me. And I was in a convent, and my mother had left me there, and all this weird stuff was coming out of me. And I thought, oh my goodness, oh, this must be a past life. But I had no education in past lives. Nobody had really ever talked to me about it. This was so foreign to me that I was very much in shock. But somehow, some way, my spiritual self started to understand that this was a past life, and there was something happening to me at a deeper level than I'd never had happen to me before. With that revelation and the understanding that I had been in another time zone, so to speak, 400 years, 500 years ago, made me realize for the very first time, wow, I'm a soul. I'm a soul evolving. This is happening to me. This who I think I am, I'm not. See, it was like God gave me a wake-up call, slapped me on the head and said, wake up, girl. This is not who you are. You think you're Janie Fenton Hart. That's who you think you are. This is not who you are. You're so much greater than that. You're so much beyond that. Let her go. let that little image of yourself go and come into understanding that there's more to you than you understand you to be. And that was a huge spiritual giant step in my on my spiritual journey. And the more I allowed myself to embrace that thought and idea, the more clarity I got about it. And the more understanding I got about the people in my life.